G'day legends, Lachie here. Your 30s. It's a funny old time, isn't it? It's basically the decade where life decides to throw the whole kitchen sink at you, all at once. 1 minute, you're in your 20s, cheering because you finally landed a decent salary and you're not eating 2-minute noodles for dinner every night. You feel like a king. But then, blink, and the next minute you're staring at a mortgage application for a showbox in Sydney or Melbourne, wondering how on earth anyone actually affords to be an adult in this country. Meanwhile, your bank account? It's getting pulled in about 17 different directions. It feels like a financial pinata at a kid's birthday party, and everyone's having a swing. You've got kids who seem to need new shoes every 3 weeks, or maybe you're thinking about school fees that cost more than a small car. You've got a mortgage that's probably making you sweat every time the RBA meets on a Tuesday. And somewhere in the background, your superannuation is screaming for a bit of attention, but you're too busy just trying to keep the lights on. And somehow, amidst all this chaos, you're supposed to maintain your sanity? Yeah, right. Here's the thing that nobody warns you about when you hit the big 3-0. Everyone bangs on about your 20s being the time to find yourself and figure things out. But your 30s? That's when you realize you actually needed to have figured it out yesterday. The financial decisions you make in this decade, right now, are the most critical ones of your life. They will either set you up for a cracker of a future where you're sipping flat whites by the beach, or leave you scrambling to play catch-up for the next 30 years. My name is Lachie, and on this channel, I help Aussies understand how to build proper wealth without losing their minds, or their weekends, in the process. If you're tired of feeling like your hard-earned cash disappears faster than a sausage sizzle at Bunnings, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you're ready to finally get your financial act together. Now, before we dive into these milestones, let's get one thing straight. I'm not here to be the fun police or make you feel like a drongo about where you currently stand. Maybe you're absolutely crushing some of these goals already, good on YA. Or maybe you're looking at your CommBank app right now and wondering if you should just give up and become a professional dog walker in Byron Bay. Either way, these milestones aren't judgment calls. They're a roadmap, a bit of a GPS to help you navigate what can honestly be a pretty overwhelming decade down under. So, grab a cuppa and let's get into it. Milestone 1. Destroy consumer debt. The first major money milestone you need to hit in your 30s is eliminating all consumer debt. And yes, I am talking about getting it to zero. Zilch. Donut. Now, the only exception here is your mortgage, assuming you've managed to get into the property market. And look, I'll give you a pass on your HECS or help debt for a moment. We treat that a bit differently here because it's indexed, not interest-bearing in the traditional sense. Though with recent indexation rates, even that's getting painful. But everything else? It needs to go. I'm talking about credit cards, personal loans, car finance on that ute you probably didn't need. And yes, those by now, pay later accounts like Afterpay or Zip. Even that random loan you took out to buy a wildly expensive sofa 3 years ago that you're still paying off. All of it. I know what you're thinking. Lachie, mate, that sounds impossible. My cost of living is through the roof. But here's why this matters so much. Your 30s are your prime earning decade. Your salary is likely higher than it's ever been, and hopefully, it's going to keep climbing. The absolute last thing you want is consumer debt acting like financial quicksand, dragging down every dollar you earn. Think about it this way. If you're paying $400 a month in credit card interest and another $600 for a car loan, that's $1,000 every single month. That's $12,000 a year. That is money that could be working for you. If you took that $1,000 a month and chucked it into an offset account on your mortgage, or invested it in a decent ETF, over a decade, you're talking about massive wealth creation. Instead, you're just making the banks wealthier. Your 30s are also when life starts getting really complicated really fast. You might be dealing with more responsibility at work, maybe managing a household, raising little ones, or helping out aging parents. Trust me, having consumer debt hanging over your head during all of this is like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle across the harbor bridge. Possible? Maybe. Advisable? Definitely not. I learned this lesson the hard way when my old man started needing more help around the house. He's one of those stubborn blokes who wants to fix everything himself. We had a plumbing disaster. Blocked drains. Absolute nightmare. If I'd been drowning in car payments and credit card bills, I wouldn't have had the flexibility to just say, right, I'm calling a plumber, and pay the emergency call-out fee. we would have been stuck with a flooded laundry and a very grumpy dad. Debt steals your options. Get rid of it. Milestone 2. The clean credit report. The second milestone is achieving a pristine credit report and a solid credit score. Now, in Australia, our credit scoring system is a bit different from the US. We have comprehensive credit reporting now. This means lenders can see not just the bad stuff, like defaults, but also the good stuff, like paying your bills on time every month. We are aiming for a score in the excellent range, usually above 800 depending on whether you're looking at Equifax or Experian. I can hear some of you saying, but Lachie, I'm not planning to borrow any more money. I don't need a credit score. Here's the reality check. Unless you're planning to pay cash for your next house, which, let's be honest, in this market is a pipe dream for most, your credit score matters. It determines whether the bank says yes or no, and increasingly, it can influence the interest rate you're offered. Let's put this in perspective with some actual Aussie numbers. Say you're looking to buy a place for $800,000, which is basically an entry-level apartment in parts of Sydney these days. You need a $640,000 loan. If you have an excellent credit score and a clean history, you're looking at the most competitive rates. But if you've got a history of late payments, missed utility bills, or too many credit inquiries, you might be pushed to a second-tier lender. The difference in interest rate might be 1% or even 2%. On a $640,000 mortgage, a 1% difference is thousands of dollars a year in extra interest. Over the life of a 30-year loan, you're essentially buying the bank a brand new luxury car just because you were sloppy with your bills. And here's where it gets painful. One default, one payment more than 60 days overdue, acts like a stain on your report for years. It can stop you from refinancing when rates drop. It can stop you from upgrading your home. The good news? It's not rocket science. Automate your bills. Don't go applying for 5 different credit cards just to get the frequent flyer points unless you know what you're doing. And keep an eye on your file. It's free to check. Treat your credit report like your resume. Keep it spotless. Milestone 3. The 30-year game plan. The third milestone is putting together a comprehensive financial plan for the next 30 years. I know, planning 30 years ahead sounds about as appealing as a root canal or sitting in traffic on the M1 on a long weekend. But hear me out. Your 30s are when you start dealing with multiple financial priorities simultaneously. Without a plan, you're just playing financial whack-a-mole. You need a strategy. I like to break it down into 4 pillars. First, cash flow. You need to know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. Not roughly, exactly. You can't build wealth if you're bleeding cash on subscriptions you don't use or Uber Eats 3 times a week. Second, superannuation. This is your retirement engine. In your 30s, you need to check. Are you in a high-growth fund? Are you paying too much in fees? Should you be salary sacrificing a bit extra to save on tax? Third, tax planning. In Australia, tax is likely your biggest expense. Are you using your offsets? Are you claiming everything you're entitled to? If you have a partner, are you structuring your investments efficiently? And fourth, risk management. What happens if you get sick and can't work? Income protection insurance is massive here. This might be the point where seeing a financial advisor makes sense, especially if you're juggling a mortgage, maybe an investment property, and family costs. A good advisor isn't just for the rich. They're for people who have complexities. They help you fit the puzzle pieces together so you're not just guessing. Milestone 4. The Sleep at Night Fund. The fourth milestone is building a bulletproof emergency fund. In your 20s, the standard advice was 3 months of expenses. In your 30s, I want you to think bigger. We are talking 6 months of full living expenses. Why the increase? Because the stakes are higher. In your 30s, if you lose your job, it might take longer to find a role that pays the same level. If the hot water system blows up, it's going to cost $2,000 instantly. If your car transmission fails, that's huge money. And let's talk about the best place to keep this money in Australia, the mortgage offset account. If you have a home loan, your emergency fund shouldn't be sitting in a regular savings account getting taxed at your marginal rate. It should be sitting in your offset account, reducing the interest you pay on your mortgage. Every dollar in your offset is saving you interest at your mortgage rate, say 6% or 7%. That is a guaranteed, tax-free return. You cannot beat that. Having this fund isn't just about security, it's about freedom. It's what I call fuck you money. When you have 6 months of expenses in the bank, you don't have to tolerate a toxic boss. You can negotiate from a position of strength. You can sleep soundly when the news is talking about a recession. It turns a financial disaster into a minor inconvenience. Milestone 5. Superannuation boost. The 5th milestone is getting your superannuation on track, specifically, aiming to have a balance that's starting to look serious. A good rule of thumb for age 40 is to have about 2 to 3 times your annual salary in super. Now, superannuation is our secret weapon in Australia. It's tax advantaged. Your employer puts in the guarantee, currently rising to 12%, but in your 30s, you should look at doing more. This is the decade of salary sacrifice. You can ask your boss to pay some of your pre-tax salary straight into super. It gets taxed at 15% instead of your marginal rate, which might be 32%, 37%, or even 45%. That is an instant, guaranteed return on your money just in tax savings. Also, look at the carry-forward rule. If you haven't used up your concessional caps in previous years, since 2018, you can use them now. This is huge if you have a high-income year or sell an asset and have a capital gains tax bill. You can dump a chunk into super to lower your taxable income. I know retirement feels like it's a million years away. You can't touch this money until you're 60. But every extra dollar you put in now has 30 years to compound. 30 years. The difference between a standard super balance and a boosted one at retirement can literally be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do not ignore your super. Milestone 6. Lifestyle inflation immunity. The 6th milestone is something I call lifestyle inflation immunity. This separates the wealth builders from the wealth pretenders. Your 30s are prime time for lifestyle creep. You get a promotion, so naturally, you think you deserve a nicer apartment in a trendier suburb. You get a bonus, so you upgrade the Mazda to a BMW. You start buying $25 bottles of wine instead of the $12 ones. I have mates in Sydney making big 6-figure salaries who are somehow always broke. They're driving leased luxury cars, living in rentals that cost a fortune, and eating out at restaurants every night because cooking is apparently too hard. Meanwhile, they complain about cost of living. It's like watching someone pour water into a bucket with holes in the bottom. The secret weapon? Automation. Every time you get a pay rise, automatically divert at least 50% of that increase towards your investments or your mortgage offset, before it even hits your spending account. If you get a $5,000 raise, great. Set up an auto transfer for $2,500 of that straight into your investment strategy. Your future self will be stoked, and your current self won't even miss money you never saw. Milestone 7. Estate planning. The adult stuff. The 7th milestone sounds morbid, but it's actually one of the most loving things you can do for your family. Estate planning. I know, you think you're too young. But if you have kids, a mortgage, or any assets, including super, you need this. It's not just a will. In Australia, your superannuation doesn't automatically form part of your estate covered by your will. You need a binding death benefit nomination to tell the super fund exactly who gets that money if you pass away. Otherwise, the trustee decides, and it can get messy. You also need an enduring power of attorney and enduring guardianship. If you're in a car accident and in a coma, who makes financial decisions for you? Who decides your medical treatment? If you don't have these documents, it's a legal nightmare for your partner or parents. It's about protecting the people you love from bureaucracy during their worst moments. Get a lawyer, get it drafted, sign it, and file it away. Milestone 8. Health as an asset. The 8th milestone is investing in your health. In Australia, we are lucky to have Medicare, but as you hit your 30s, relying solely on the public system can be risky for quality of life. This is the decade where your body stops forgiving you. The kebabs at 2 a.m.? They stick around now. Investing in health means 2 things. Preventative. Gym membership, quality food, regular checkups. It's cheaper to stay healthy than to fix a chronic issue later. Insurance. Understanding how private health insurance works. Once you turn 31 in Australia, the lifetime health cover loading kicks in. For every year you don't have hospital cover after age 31, the premiums go up by 2% per year when you eventually do get it. Plus, if you're earning decent money, you might be paying the Medicare Levi surcharge and extra tax if you don't have private cover. Do the maths. Sometimes, taking out a basic hospital policy is actually cheaper than paying the extra tax. But more importantly, being healthy allows you to work, earn, and enjoy your wealth. Health is wealth, literally. Milestone 9. The Education Fund. The 9th milestone is thinking seriously about education costs, if you have or plan to have kids. In Australia, we have a massive divide: public versus private schools. If you're planning on sending your kids to a private high school, you need to know that fees can be anywhere from $20,000 to $45,000 a year per child. And that's just tuition. Add uniforms, excursions, tech levies. It's a fortune. Education costs have risen faster than inflation. You need a strategy. Maybe it's an investment bond, which can be a tax-effective way to save for education if held for 10 years. Maybe it's just a dedicated high-interest savings account or a family trust structure. Even if you go public, which is a fantastic option in many areas, there are still costs. Tutoring, sports, university support later on. Start early. Even $50 a week into an investment fund when they are born creates a massive nest egg by the time they hit year 7. Don't wait until they are 12 to panic about school fees. Milestone 10. Financial confidence. The 10th and final milestone is developing financial confidence. This isn't about a number in a bank account. It's a feeling. It's the feeling of knowing you have systems in place. It's knowing that if the stock market drops 20% tomorrow, you're not going to panic sell because you understand your long-term strategy. It's not lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering if you can afford that family holiday to Queensland. It's knowing you can, because you've budgeted for it. It's understanding how the pieces of your puzzle fit together. Your offset, your super, your insurance, your estate plan. Your 30s are your financial prime time. You have the income, you have the time for compound interest to work, but you also have the responsibilities. Don't let this decade slip by. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need to hit all 10 of these tomorrow. But pick one. Maybe this week you just call your super fund and check your investment option.
That sounds right.
Maybe you finally close that ZipPay account. Small, consistent actions compound. Just like your money. So, tell me in the comments, which of these milestones is your biggest challenge right now? Is it the mortgage? The lifestyle creep? Or maybe figuring out the whole superannuation puzzle? Let's have a yarn about it below. Thanks for watching, legends. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.